Hi, guys. John, the firearms instructor, and welcome to the live tonight. We're live on our Facebook page. We're live on one of our YouTube channels. I am glad you're here this evening. I am very fortunate that Miss Johnson's here this evening as well. My boys are off in Orlando. Miami. Thank you, Miss Johnson. Miami. Jacob's birthday's this weekend, or at the end of the month, and Johnny and his girlfriend had decided to take Jacob to a Miami Heat game. And they bought some nice tickets, and Johnny wanted to take his brother over to the game. So we are excited to maybe see him on TV. Be awesome. I hope you guys are doing well. We're giving a little bit of time for the live to kick in. We have last week we had a big number. We had 24, I think 24 or 25 that got on the live. We were really hopping up on that, so that was pretty cool. Hope you guys are doing wonderful. Man, I am getting a bunch of people contacting me, and I want to give a shout out to a Chris Mack. Chris Mack called me Saturday, wanted to just tell me how much he appreciates what we do. And Chris, I appreciate you and what you do, my friend. We have a live that's good this evening. We've been working on a theme here about proper shooting, and we talked about proper grip a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We did sight alignment and the sight picture, and we've done a bunch of different stuff. Well, this week it's all about anticipation. And this is one of those deals that people don't think they do it, but it happens to a lot of us. Now, you know the drill, guys. This is going to be a PowerPoint presentation 10 reasons why anticipation can cause you to have inaccuracy, excuse me. And we're going to talk through each one of them and maybe give you some advice on each one of these. Uh, uh, One of the deals we talk about all the time is if you're new to the live or you just got something saying, hey, there's a live tonight, please let us know where you're from and what's going on. We've had a bunch of people from a lot of different places, and at this point in time, there's six on there, and we're going to try to 6 to 25. It takes an awful long time to get there, but hopefully we'll be able to get it. We just got into that new time of the week. It is daylight savings time. I surely like it stays darker late, brighter later, but I surely don't like getting up darker earlier. That's not my fun thing. My beautiful bride, she's a school teacher and she has to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get everything done to get there by 7, and it is not fun for her. She has to do her hair and her makeup and all that stuff, and getting used to the new time change. It is not fun for anybody. So do me a favor, tell me where you're from, and if you are on one of our Facebook lives at this point in time, you can put FB, and if you're on one of our YouTube lives, you can put YT. And I don't know if you guys remember, but we have our podcast going as well, and that can be found anywhere a podcast is available. If you look up John the Firearms Trainer, you'll find a podcast. Now, we haven't done a single podcast by itself. We are taking these lives that we do and we are making them audio only so you can put them on your device and where however you consume your your podcast. We're going to be available for that, and we're going to start doing a little bit more private stuff on that as well. A lot of times we multi-use our inventory, our videos and stuff for shorts and things like that. So we just did, and YouTube has their new podcast available. So the podcast on YouTube is unique because it is audio and it is video as well. And all you have to do is put on your YouTube uh, music. YouTube Music will have the podcast for all the stuff you're looking for too. So it's an easier way to go if you're going to do that. We have a few comments we're looking at right now. I'm going to go check those real quick and see who's here. All right. So we had a gentleman. His name is Sule Lagaharde. I'm sorry, I probably destroyed that. But he asked a question and it said, "Sir, please tell me two things. First, the service life of a Chinese TT pistol. Second, if I keep a full magazine loaded, I assume, all year, will the springs be lost or damaged?" Okay, so the first, I'm not sure about the pistol, the Chinese pistol. If it looks like it's in good shape, buddy, and it racks and it does everything, uh, it should be all right. I would be concerned if there's any kind of rust or any kind of things like that. A lot of these aftermarket, I'm assuming you bought something on a surplus area there. You would have to test it first to see if it's going to work. But most of the time, if a weapon like that is built uh, in the past, the surplus stuff normally works pretty well. There's no issue really with them. There are plenty of guns that are from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s that work tremendously well, so I wouldn't worry about that. And that's an old wise tale about the springs getting loose, or getting damaged. You know, I'm sure if it sat 1,000 years, it may do it. If the rust was involved or liquid was involved, it could do it. But standardly leaving a magazine full is not going to hurt the weapon at all. So you can you can rest assured that that's not going to cause too many problems. Now, if you did for 50 years or 60 years or 70 years, maybe, but most people are shooting these weapons and they're coming loaded with magazines, and then they come and you shoot them, they empty them, vice versa. If you're really concerned about it and it's something that you think you want to test it out, go ahead and take the springs down to only 3 to 5 rounds in the weapon. That'll give you enough spring tension to run the gun, but not enough spring tension that you may affect the spring. Thank you very much. I hope I answered your questions. Uh, Hello. I'm terrible about names. It's Tristan Milleris. Hello, Teston. Appreciate that. Natasha, I'm glad you're here. And Natasha survived my vehicle class. That was awesome. Natasha did a vehicle class over the weekend. She was looking forward to shooting through glass, which is yeah, she's a character, I'll tell you that. That's why we love her. Thank you, Natasha, for being here. And Natasha's mom, thank you for being here. Guys, if you have any comments all the way through this thing, if I say something that you want to ask a question about, please put it in the comments. Now, what we're going to do is keep this thing going the right direction. We're not going to stop and answer questions continuously. We're going to wait to the end, give yourself 15, 20 minutes, and we'll go Q&A at the end of this thing. Obviously, if you think you have it, please go ahead and put it down. That way you can write the comment as I'm saying it, and I'll go back and look at them. I promise you that. So let's go ahead and talk in regards to anticipation. And I did a PowerPoint presentation. We're going to load up right now, and let's see how this looks here. So there it is, and I'm going to go full screen. Boom! There we go. There's that guy again. Top 10 tips for eliminating anticipation with a handgun. A lot of people don't realize that when you use a handgun, that something can happen internally to you that makes you want to freak out. I don't know if you've ever shot a pistol before, but if you haven't, there's a lot of people who have. And if they think they have 4 rounds in the gun, but there's only three, and they go engage for that last trigger engagement, and they kind of give this whole shutter thing because they were expecting there to be 5 shots in the gun, but there was only four. And what tends to happen, guys, is internally your monster is screaming its head off because it doesn't know what you're doing, and shooting a pistol's not common. And internally, it's like, imagine if you were walking down the street and someone just threw a firecracker at your feet. Well, you would kind of jump from that. I'm sure you would. Well, when you're shooting a pistol, you have to get through the recoil. You have to get through the trigger engagement. You have to get through the sight alignment, the sight picture, and then engage the trigger. and not let the gun dip or fall off your line of sight. And this anticipation happens an awful lot. We talked about it a couple weeks ago in regards to when someone is shooting low and left, that low is shooting over the pistol or shooting the front post maybe a little high or a little low, but the left is caused by anticipating you manipulating the pistol to try to stop the recoil management and stopping the gun from kicking so much. So, one of the things that we talk about is these tips here will help us tremendously keep our count down and what we're doing wrong with the pistol. So, top 10 eliminating it for eliminating and anticipating with a handgun. Let's go the first one. You know, are you struggling with anticipation when shooting a handgun? There are 10 tips to help you eliminate anticipation and improve your accuracy. Yes, anticipation will cause your accuracy to fail. Where when you're getting your weapon out in front of you, you're trying to really press that trigger really slowly, it can be very easily intimidating, especially if you're not controlling the recoil management and you're not doing everything and you're just trying to, it can be frustrating as much as anything else. We see people all the time that are pulling the trigger versus pressing the trigger. And that pressing of the trigger is what we really want. We really wanted that slow engagement without the weapon moving off our horizontal and vertical line. So anticipation is probably one of the major causes of weapons being pulled to the left or pulled to the right. If you're a left-handed student, you most likely do everything right. Everything would pull left, right, and low. Where we in your right-handed, average right-handed student shoots low and left, and that's because of what we're talking about here. So, what's the first tip? We need to focus on our breathing. You know what? I've always said the breathing in a handgun is not really the distance, obviously with a rifle and you're shooting long distances, there is that inhale, exhale thing that keeps that lungs full, lungs empty. You want to be right in the middle and then just kind of hold that. Because if you really think about the last time you were outside running or carrying or doing anything exertive, your your body was heaving the air in and the air out, which in turn would cause that weapon to go below the horizontal line and above the horizontal line. So if you wanted to be a little bit more proficient with a pistol, you could slow down your breathing to really control the idea of this is you inhale and you exhale just a little bit, and then that will keep your heart rate at a slow cadence. And then right before you cut that trigger, just hold your breath a little bit and cut it. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't practice this with a handgun very much, but someone with a scenario of being very uncomfortable or not confident with a firearm, you could inhale and exhale and cause the weapon to move a lot, but you're breathing in and breathing out. So you could focus more on a nice, smooth breathing. You're not excited, you're not nervous, you're not scared. All these things can affect your nerves. And if you're able to calm your breath down, you're going to steady your aim. Focus it on your breath to take slow, deep breaths to calm your nerves and steady your aim. So, breathing would be the first thing I'd kind of work on. Get yourself in a position where you're feeling very confident and you're breathing good. All right. Number 2 would be practice proper grip. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, how important grip is. Here's a picture of a gentleman with a high on the tang grip, thumbs facing forward, just the barely tip of his finger. He's driving the weapon with his pecs of his body, and he's just keeping that gun level. and maintain a stable shooting position. Practicing proper grip and stance. Make sure that you have a firm grip on the handgun and maintain a stable shooting position. If you look at those thumbs, guys, they are along for the ride. They are not supposed to be putting any pressure on the side of that firearm. A guy a couple weeks ago came to one of our classes and he was notoriously shooting right. And I'm watching him. He's got a good grip. He's doing everything wonderful. And I watched him push with his thumbs. And he was pressing very hard with his thumbs and causing a right handed student to shoot to the right. He was thumbing the slide. And thumbing the slide was causing it to push off to the right. And he was anticipating the thumbing, which was causing him to shoot high and right, which was kind of a weird scenario. He was pushing with his thumbs very hard. So I told him to take his thumbs off the gun, and it was solved immediately. He was back in the center of the target. So a proper grip is so important. And if you don't know a proper grip, guys, there are plenty of videos on my YouTube channel that you can watch that we did full videos on all of those things. Proper grip is that foundation we talked about a couple weeks ago. And it is something that we talk about every time we do a class. It's grip, it's stance, it's trigger control, it's sight picture, it's sight alignment. It's all things together, which we've been covering the last couple weeks to give you a full foundation. The foundation is so important because one little thing off of it causes everything else to be a little wonky. Wonky's a word? I think wonky's a word. We use wonky. All right. So number 2 is practicing proper grip. Let me know what you guys think about these. Tell me if there's something I'm missing, please. All right. Let's go to the next slide. The next slide is concentrating mostly on your front sight. Here's where a lot of people get a little carried away is they use that front sight focus only and they don't think about the rear sight. And this is where a lot of people get what we're looking for in that proper grip and the proper stance is that gun not to be moving or wiggling. And then when I cut that shot or when I engage that trigger, that front sight does not move. And if you kind of be honest with yourself when you're starting to cut triggers or you engage in the trigger, a lot of the trigger engagements happen with a pull versus a press. Um, Remember what I told you guys before. You may not have heard this, but a shot should surprise you. Not. It should not. Uh, you should not know the gun's going to fire. Now, obviously, as we get better and better and better of trigger travel, we're going to kind of figure out what this weapon's going to do, if that makes sense. But concentrating on your front sight, keeping your focus on your front sight of the gun will ensure a proper alignment. Because remember this, a sight levels the gun up and down and right and left. And when we start getting into a point where we're slapping that trigger or we're anticipating that recoil, what if you watch students, what they try to do is they try to muscle the firearm from lifting. And that's not your job. Your job is to control the weapon and roll with the recoil enough that you can keep the gun level and slowly engage the trigger. When you're applying torque to a firearm, you are applying pressure to that firearm. And most likely, wherever you're applying the pressure, that's where the the bullet's going to impact. So that gentleman that was applying pressure with his thumbs to the right, that's where the bullet impact. So, you know, anticipation does a lot of stuff to a lot of different people, and each one of them can be a little different from each student. But if you pay attention to what's happening, your target will tell you what you're doing wrong. So number 3 was concentrating on that front sight. Now, it's more than I can tell you is you can't concentrate on the front sight if it isn't level with the back sights. The front sight of that gun is not a sight without those back sights, and vice versa. The back sights are not a sight without the front sight. The 3 of them together level the pistol. And then you not anticipating the recoil, just engaging this weapon until it cuts. All right. So elimination of anticipation with a handgun, it happens a lot when people pull the trigger. I'm pulling the trigger because I am trying to get it over with. Internally, your monster, that thing inside you is screaming its head off, pull the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger. And if we can stop people from doing that, there's where all of our bad habits come from. Squeeze, don't pull the trigger. Apply steady pressure to the trigger instead of jerking it, which can cause anticipation. You've seen this. You've done this yourself. I have done this. I do it all the time. It's normally my first trigger engagement is the one that I normally try to rush as much as possible. 2 weeks ago, we talked about trigger travel, and that trigger travel allowing that pistol, the trigger to come back to a certain point. Triggers, like anything else, will load. They will get heavier, or they will get to a point where they're about to get to that cutting edge, and just about there, then the weapon fires. It's very unique for a trigger not to have some kind of trigger press or trigger pressure to get it to a certain point. One of the greatest pistols that you could put in your hand to understand this more than anything else is that Smith and Wesson Shield Plus. That Smith and Wesson Shield Plus has a very unique trigger. It has been like that for a long period of time, but the Plus now has a flat trigger on it. So when you go to engage that trigger, it travels just a very minute back and it stops dead. There is no travel to this trigger at all. And once it gets back to that wall, then anything past that wall, the weapon's going to fire. One of the hardest things, really, to tell a student is when the gun's going to go bang. How do I know the gun's going to go bang? Well, you have to engage the trigger enough to get to the point where you know where it's about to cut. And that's one of those deals. But once you've done that, you've been in a range before. When you pull a trigger, you get an impact that you don't like. And when you press a trigger, you get a better impact. And if you're using the tip of your finger, like this picture shows this gentleman is doing, he's not manipulating the pistol by putting his full finger into the gun. The more finger you put in this weapon, that's where the weapon's going to actually engage to on that side. And you're pushing it off to that side. If I put to my crease, my trigger finger to the crease, that's going to cause a lot of trigger engagement, pistol engagement to the left because you're putting. Well, obviously, if you're right-handed student, if you're left-handed student, it would be off to the right. So number 4, squeeze, don't pull. Squeeze, don't pull. We like to use the term press. Just press the trigger. Applying a steady pressure. That's the key. A lot of people get carried away. They'll take some of the trigger out, and they'll boom, they'll pop it. And then when they pop it, it actually, if you pay attention, take you and your buddy to the range. Pay attention to the weapon itself. Don't worry about where they're shooting, and you can see the manipulation of the pistol. You can see what it does. You can see when it pops or pulls or anything else like that. It definitely, for me, from behind, I can tell what a student's doing immediately when I see. Obviously, the impact of the bullet tells us more than anything else, but they don't see what they're doing with the weapon until I show them. That's why I love carrying my video camera back there So when I've got them up there and I'm letting them engage the weapon, they don't feel or don't see them using the wrist to aim the gun versus the waist to aim the gun. And they don't see that big pop when they pull the trigger and the front post just dumps down like crazy. So squeeze, don't pull for number four. Number five, this is a great thing. I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, and this is kind of hard for you to do it, but using dummy rounds in a practice plot in a practice session, this will help you identify any flinching and jerking or movement. Now, what you do is you get two of your buddies, or yourself and a buddy, and then take 4 or 6 dummy rounds and mix them up with all the live rounds. Or have your buddy load your magazine and you load your buddy's magazine and slip in a couple of these dummy rounds. Now, I did a video, me and Johnny last year, and I did pretty well in this. I was surprised how well I did, but he got me a couple times because I surely was not expecting there to be back to back. And basically, what you do is you load the magazine, you rack the slide, and you put it out in front of you. And you begin to travel that trigger and do what you need to do. And then, if the gun goes click and not bang, can you keep the gun level? Most of the time, people jerk the trigger due to the fact that they were anticipating. And the more you can identify flinching and jerking and movements, before live firing, you're going to be a better overall person to watch for anticipation. The dummy rounds are a very good idea. You could do it yourself, but you'd have to kind of put your rounds into a box of some kind and be able to pull out different rounds. Keep your eyes closed as you're loading them. I mean, that's the only way to really do it. Or have your family members. Let's say you got 6 or 8 magazines, you could have someone load them up for you prior to you getting to the range, and that'll help you understand what anticipation you do. Because most people do not, they don't vision themselves anticipating. They don't vision themselves pulling the trigger or pressing the trigger. They're doing a lot of different stuff, but definitely the dummy rounds is a good practice the session. You can do this a lot, and it helps out tremendously with the flinching and jerking. Number five, using those dummy rounds. Not a bad idea. This is a great one. I mean, I kind of I use a lot of I use a lot of I use my experience, but a lot of times I'm looking for um, o- other ways people can see this. And I was telling somebody the other day that somebody that goes back into the range with confidence, they're going to shoot a lot better with someone without confidence. And obviously, this makes perfect sense, right? But people don't trust what they're doing with the firearm. They don't trust their sight picture. They don't trust their sight align. They just assume they have to see and look and um, not trust that the bullet's going to go where they tell it to go. And visualization of the shot before you take it is one of those things that you can kind of work yourself into this thing because we talk a lot in regards to aim small, miss small, or putting the rounds together. A lot of this stuff is just a repetition thing that we're doing, but we have to really vision what we're supposed to be doing here, right? We got a 6-inch paper plate. We want to put all the rounds in the 6-inch paper plate. We know we need to aim a little lower than what we're doing because that bullet rises as it fires, and we need to cut all those shots and keep a clean plate. We don't want any rounds coming out of the plate. We don't want them on the edge of the plate. We want them in the center of the plate. And we need to visualize where that first bullet goes. And I impact just a tad low from where I'm aiming at a 6 o'clock hold. So I know if I'm going to take this target out to 21 foot or anything past that, I have to adjust my sights a little bit. But in real world, if I'm going to go out further distances, I'm going to use a larger target because my ability to be pinpoint accurate at 10 feet may be okay, but as we get further out, there's a lot more manipulation that has to be done. Using a pistol at 100 yards, who does that? You can do it. That and at 50, it can be done. I've done 50-yard steel before. I can't tell you that, we hit a 10 out of 10 on it, but it can be done. You just got to kind of work on on engagement, and everything must be just tight, if that makes sense. The tighter we are shooting him, those shots, the easier it becomes. The more sloppy we are at longer distances, there's no chance at all. So visualizing the shot before you take it. How many of you come to the range with a plan? This is one of those things we talk about before. You got to have some idea what you're doing here. I have the 81-year-old man, Mr. Lou, and he has been shooting an awful long time. He was in the military. He just got a new pistol, and last week he was so disappointed because he was just wasn't shooting properly. So I went back and I gave him a few adjustments. And Mr. Lou, he tends to bring his arms in because he's got a bad back. And I keep visualizing. Said, Lou, I need you to visualizing your arms all the way out as far as you can. We don't want Lou to hurt himself when he's shooting, but when you bring your arms to your chest, you're making those arms a shock absorber. And now when he shoots the weapon, that firearm is not being controlled. Mr. Lou came in today, went back 5 rounds, 5 50 rounds, 5 shots at a time. He came in the office and showed me his targets. Solid, man, solid. Because he went back there with a plan. All right, he said, John, I'm going to go back. I'm going to shoot my 5 shots. I'm going to concentrate. I'm going to put a 21 foot. I'm going to put the paper plate. He told me everything he was going to do, and guess what? He did it. And he came back up here and he was happy as a peacock. And that's all we want, because realistically, being confident with a pistol will change everything. Confidence will help you reduce anticipation. Trusting the gun is just a tool and you have to operate it. This thing does nothing without you. And you are the only thing that causes this weapon to go right, left, up, and down. Because hit laying on the counter can't pull its own trigger, can't load its own rounds. Anticipation comes from somewhere and ain't the pistol, it's you. Visualize those shots, guys. Make a plan. Make a plan, keep a plan. That's what I always recommend. Because when you go back there, I want you to be honest with me. Last time you're at the range and you shot 250, 300, 400 rounds. I mean, it feels good to do that. It feels good to go back there and blast away, right? But what are we getting out of that besides bad habits? Real bad habits. Bad habits are easy to pick up. Good habits take long and an effort to become more proficient. Number 6, visualize that shot. Number 7 is practicing that dry fire. I mean, that dry firing is a big deal because it helps us tremendously understand the trigger creep, how far that trigger needs to come back. This is a great little deal here. This is the quarter test here or the penny test you can do. It works good on Glocks because the Glock trigger up front, the Glock sights up front is flat. But I've done this. I've done the same thing with the casings on a 9 millimeter. You've got to put up there. There's a video on our YouTube channel of me doing a dry fire drill just as this, getting that trigger back, controlling and eliminating the anticipation. When you're trying to put that out there, put a brass casing on there, lift the gun up into your sight alignment and then slowly cut the trigger and not have that quarter fall or that brass casing fall. And it's on video, guys. I did it. I did it a couple times. So Johnny, there's proof of me doing it. I'm getting older, so I do have a little bit more um shaky shakes once in a while. I don't know what it's about, but sometimes it happens. Um, Practicing that dry firing, you don't need to do the quarter thing. You just need to get that trigger back and feel it. There are a lot of products out there, that you can practice your dry firing, but you don't need to buy something expensive. All you need is a weapon. All you need to make sure that when you're doing your dry fire drills, that there's no ammo anywhere in the room. Matter of fact, take the weapon, take the magazine away. Don't have anything at all in there with ammo, and just practice racking it and slowly taking that trigger back to. So, whole point of dry firing more than anything else is understanding when the gun's gonna go bang, which internally, what it does for you is the monster inside you starts to think, wait a minute, he just engaged the trigger and it didn't go bang and it didn't have a recoil and it wasn't aggressive. What's going on? So now you're confusing the monster a little bit inside you because lately, every time you've touched this pistol, it's recoiled and it's banged. And now you did 10 re 10 dry fires and it didn't. So internally, you start to understand how much travel I can put in this trigger before it does go bang. Because realistically, the more trigger travel we take out of the pistol, the less manipulation we're going to have, the less anticipation we're going to have, because we know at a certain point that weapon only comes back to a certain point, and then the weapon's going to cut. So if we could take some of that slack out, like we talked about a week ago, and get it back to a certain point, it's going to be a lot easier for us. 13 is the highest we've got so far. 13 people looking. Oh, we appreciate you being there, guys. Let's see if we can get this to 15 tonight. We appreciate that. If you can get friends and family to watch it, we would love that. If you can for me, it would be great. All right. Well, so number 7 is practicing dry fire. I have a question for you guys. How many of you are dry firing on a regular basis? Why don't you give me an idea what you're doing it at the range too, if you want to. Tell me how many rounds you normally shoot and tell me what kind of dry firing drills. Dry firing drills are a great drill because when back in the day when 9mm was expensive, the dry fire was the cheapest way to get our head around it because it was very, very expensive, back in pre COVID days or right at COVID days when you were 80, 90 cents a round. You don't want to be spending a lot of time shooting on that stuff, especially because it starts getting costly on you. But let me know how you guys are doing your testing or your dry firing and things like that. All right, so I was going to get to it sooner or later. You need to seek professional instructions. This is going to help you tremendously, guys. This is more an instructor can give you valuable feedback and guidance to help you overcome anticipation. Well, 100% an instructor can do a lot of different stuff for you, and you need to find the one that's going to work best for you. Now, I've mentioned this multiple times. We would love to have you come here and do it, blah, blah, blah. But most of you are not from here. But if you are from here, we would love to have you come here. We do classes every day. Most of our classes are private. You don't own a pistol, we're going to put a pistol in your hand. We think that's going to be best for you. But one cool thing about us being a training facility that everything in the store is shootable. It gives you the ability to shoot a pistol before you buy it. Went out to the gun show this weekend. Uh, we went to Charlotte. Nice show, not too bad. A lot of people walking around trying to pick that right pistol for them. Well, how are you going to buy a pistol and not even know how it shoots or anything else like that? I know it's unique for us to do these things, but how silly would it be to buy a pair of shoes online or buy a wedding dress online without trying them on? You know what I mean? You got to do that. Same thing here, man. You got to try on a pistol. If you have the opportunity to get someplace, get with an instructor, and try a couple different pistols, it's the best thing you can do. But when you're seeking professional help, they're going to walk you through the whole thing. The greatest thing ever is when a student comes in here and tells me, I know nothing. This is my first time shooting a pistol. I like that more than anything else compared to the person who's been shooting for 10, 15, 20 years and just got all those habits. Because the moment they leave me, the moment I walk away and let them shoot by themselves, they go back to all their old habits. Seeking a Seek a professional instruction. Now, I've told you multiple times, easiest way, in my opinion, to find a qualified instructor is hit the nearest gun range in your area and go in and see who they're recommending as the firearms instructor. And there'll be people that are working for them or work out of their facility if they're not a training facility like us. We don't have other instructors working for us. We are a family owned business. I take that back. We have Tasha that comes and helps us once in a while because she's part of our family here. But we don't allow anybody else that's a firearm instructor to come here and use our facility to teach students. Unfortunately, that's like taking a steak over to Outback and tell them you're going to use their grill to cook your steak. That's just not the way it happens. But if you can't find anybody, the NRA or United States Concealed Carry Association, both of these have web have great websites as well as zip code information that will pull up instructors in your area. Once you found a couple instructors, visit their website, go to see them, talk to them, make sure you guys click. Last thing you want to do is go into a situation, go to a class, and not jam with the person. That's going to not be a, a, a beneficial for either one of you. And most of your firearms instructors are super great guys, and they want to succeed with you, and they want to help you succeed. But if you need any of my help to help you find somebody, we would love you to do it because anticipation. There's a lot to it, but once you get your foundation set, a professional will help you. Number 8, seek professional instructions. This will take that learning curve and make it smaller and smaller and smaller. Told you a couple weeks ago, when you're shooting, going to the range, and you're about let's say 40% accurate. How expensive is that to you? Because imagine if you're shooting 100 rounds, that means 60 rounds went someplace you didn't want them to go, whether it be low and left, high and right, or just all over the place. Compared to when a firearm instructor gets done with you and you're 80, 89, 90% accurate. That saves you money. That way you ain't going to spend. Reason why people shoot 300 rounds at the range is they're trying to figure it out. Can you really figure it out? Or are you just going to be walking that thing right, walking that thing left, up, down? And by the end of that day, are you any more accurate with a pistol or are you more frustrated with a pistol? Hiring a firearms instructor to help you, support you, maybe coddle you if you need it, and make sure that you can overcome the anticipation and remind you that you run the tool doesn't run you. That's a key. Build that confidence. Those are things that us instructors do on a regular basis. Excuse me. So number 8 is seek professional instructions. I was going to do a crazy picture of myself, but obviously. Here's a nice one. Take a break during shooting. Fatigue kicks in very easy. This is a true one for the women because we talked multiple times. Women control a weapon a lot differently than a man does. And a woman's got to use their back muscles to control the weapon. They're driving with their dominant hand and pulling back with their non-dominant hand, which is kicking in that back muscle where a man can really just shittily hold the gun and shoot it okay. Unfortunately, that's not fair to the ladies. But once the ladies figure out how to shoot, Miss Johnson outshoots me all the time. She's just more accurate than I am. She's slow at shooting, but she's accurate at shooting. So that's the one thing. And she controls a weapon better than anybody I've ever seen as a woman. And she doesn't drive the gun either. She thinks I'm crazy telling women to drive the gun. But I find that 95% of most women will drive the gun and keep it level, where Miss Johnson just does it. So I'm proud of her. She's a good shooter. Take a break during shooting sessions. This is one of those deals. Yeah, yeah. Because with that 500, guy that come here and shoot 300 rounds, you know, fatigue kicks in very, very quickly, and then fatigue causes anticipation. So give yourself time to rest and focus. I picked this picture because it's a Glock 17, and look what's next to it. 5 shots. The 5 shot deal, we talked about this multiple times. 5 shots at a time. You don't need. This is a Glock 17 you're seeing here. That magazine holds 17 rounds. What do you think how accurate are you after the fifth shot? Are you along for the ride after the fifth shot? And there becomes the challenge. Obviously, if we're just pulling the trigger, what kind of accuracy are we going to have with the weapon? It's going to be up, down, right, left, all over because we're just not control. We're along for the ride. You stick to 5 rounds at a time. Take your time shooting. Take the each shot, concentrating on your front post and getting comfortable. You can go almost a full hour and only shoot 50 rounds. Now, low round count drills is all we tell you guys about because I don't need to put that many rounds in the gun to understand the proficiency of it. I need to just make sure that everything I'm doing is working for myself and I'm not running into any kind of anticipation. So take a break during shooting sessions. Fatigue can lead to anticipation. So give yourself time to rest and refocus. There we go again with that refocus. What are we here to do? Are we here to just to blast ammo? Are we here to become more proficient with the pistol? And I hope it's the latter, more efficient with the pistol is what we want. Because as a firearms instructor, I would tell everybody all the time, you are responsible for your bullet if you use your weapon in the line of defense. And if you are not as accurate you like to be, where's that bullet going to go? What's it hurt? What's it maim? What's it paralyzes? You're morally, civilly, and criminally responsible for it. So you need to make sure that you are as proficient as you can be with a firearm. So taking the breaks, spending time, understanding everything will make you more confident. And with more confident you are, less anticipation would kick into the weapon at that point in time. All right. Number 10's coming up. I put this in. Uh, this is one of those deals that there's a terminology we call here in the gun world, no prairie dogging. This happens an awful lot with students when they've got the weapon out in front of them and they cut the shot and they lift their head to see the impact of the bullet, which in turn causes the impact to be all over the place. So always follow through after the shot to maintain control and accuracy. You want to wait until the bullet impacts before you look. You'll I can show you video after video of people looking up over their sights to look at impact. And when you do that, you're resetting yourself. You're resetting everything you're doing. Ideally, we want to cut that shot, cut the next shot, cut the next shot, keeping the gun out in front of you, looking through your sight system, letting it level out before you cut the next shot, and stop prairie dogging. Stop prairie dogging over top of the sights. You know who you are. You know what you do. People say, "I don't do that." Yeah, you do. People do it. We all do it. I've done it. I do it. You know, that first shot. I'm always making sure that, but you just got to be confident. You got to say, "Hey, listen, I put that sight out there. I've got that target out there. I'm going to cut this shot. I know it's going to be there. Close enough, right? Doesn't have to be exactly where I'm aiming, but it's got to be there to a point. Put the sight out in front of you and stop looking over top of the weapon. to see what's going on. You know what a lot of people do? They'll drop their arms to look at the shot. Now you've dropped your arms as well as anything else. That bullet's going to follow the trajectory of where the weapon goes. And if you're letting yourself anticipate as well as prairie dog, as well as all the other stuff that people do that are bad habits, thumbing the gun and everything else, it's hard to tell somebody exactly what they're doing wrong without watching them shoot for a while. But follow through itself is one of those things that needs to be in your portfolio, especially when you're shooting a long time, because it just becomes more and more allows you to become more proficient. A lot of times, what students have, whether they're using their wrist to aim the gun, or they're using the crease of their finger and all that stuff, all those things are losing your control of the weapon, not gaining control of the weapon. So stop prairie dogging. I thought I had a cute prairie dog. They're very destructive. You know what they do is they dig holes all in the fields. In the farmers hate them because they'll dig 8, 10, 20 prairie towns, what they're called, and they're all attached to each other. And the cows go over there and step in those holes and break their hoofs or break their legs. And now you got a 2,000-pound cow that you can't do anything with but dispatch it. And they died because of a varmint that actually physically dug a hole in a field, which is what they do. And the cow stepped in the hole and broke its leg. And now it can't give milk. It can't give calves. It's a cycle. So the the hunters have to go out and do the prairie dog what they have to do to take care of them, because at the end of it, it's just a challenge. It's a big cycle. Um, so I thought that was a pretty cool picture. All right, number 10. So let's see. So that is remember eliminating anticipation takes time and practice. Keep these tips in mind during your training sessions to see improvement. W- Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more helpful tips and tutorials. 10 top 10 handgun um that's I didn't change that out there. To stop from anticipation. All right, very cool. Let's pop over to the side here and let's get back to me. Okay, I'm gonna move this one and pop up. Ooh, there I am. All right, guys, that was pretty good. I hope you liked it. I hope it helped. So let's look at some of the comments we have here this evening. Obviously, we'd love to hear from each and every one of you. We've already done Natasha, Natasha's mom, and Papa Weasel checking in. Babe. Good to hear from you, guy. Rick Shepard, how are you, sir? John, I have to go back to it to work. Hopefully, I can watch this later. Okay. Mike said, "Darn, John, I have to go back into work. Hopefully, I can watch this later. I hope you can, Mike. I hope you can, buddy. Thank you for working so hard, my friend. I appreciate you very much." And then we got Ralph that says, "I dry fire twice a week and go to the range. Really helps with anticipation. It does. Uh, um, Twice a week." And Ralph talked about he doubles up on hearing protection. That's a great advice there, buddy. A lot of times I do that for students in here because I'll have a lady who will come and just it's just not her wheelhouse yet. You know what I mean? And I kind of put on the muffs for her. But you know what happens in an indoor range? You get the concussion as well as the noise, and it kind of freaks him out. So Ralph found that if he doubles up on his hearing protection, it really helps with anticipation. I love that, Ralph. That was pretty good, buddy. That was pretty good there. That was awesome. Good advice there. Great advice. All right, guys. Well, we're 55 here. We have any questions out there? We do have some big news coming. We finally got a sponsor that's going to help us with some of our videos. And we're not allowed to talk about it yet, but next week we will be introducing a sponsor to each one of these lives, which will support us as a company. And we are working on a great little program for you guys that they're getting a deep discount, getting a free little thing for you as members or non-members. You still get it. We would, it's a it's a good company that's going to help you with your internet security. So it's going to be one of those deals. We all run through those times in life where we've getting all these scam calls or robo calls. How much people are losing. Millions and millions of dollars. The FBI talked 2 weeks ago in regards to 10.3 billion dollars were lost in cybercrime last year, and 1 out of 4 will find themselves somewhere along the line with cyber threats of some kind, whether they steal your identity, take one of your credit cards, or anything else like that. We've got a company that we're going to pull up here in a little while next week. We have it all done, but we've got to make sure we get all the T's and dots and I's done because they're going to be compensating us, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything by YouTube standards. So, oh, Chris Mack, there we go, buddy. Chris is from that. I did a shout out before this video started. Chris, I hope you heard it, buddy. Chris called me last Saturday, telling me he appreciates what we're doing. Chris Mack, dry fires a few times a week, w- rain one every 2 weeks, or every week. 5 rounds each at a time is a game changer. Great for fixing issues. That's true, buddy. That's 100% true. It's hard to. I use the terminology about golfing, right? Someone gave me 18 holes of golf. I'm probably going to be okay for 12 to 13 holes. Then after that, I start getting fatigued and tired and not doing well. And if someone gave me 18 more holes for free, am I going to shoot any better than the first 18 or the first 13? The answer would be no. Same thing here, guys. If you come here, really, if you think about the gun store selling you 300 rounds or 400 rounds or 500 rounds of ammo, uh, you know, the gun store's making money on that. You're not. That's not helping you. Those five shots at a time, tremendously makes you a better, more accurate person. If you kind of think about it more than anything else, if you have a magazine, no matter if it has 5 rounds in it or 50 rounds in it, the first 5 rounds are the most important, not six through past. Because at that point in time, we need to make sure those first five do what they need to do, or we may be in trouble. All right. Very cool. Thank you very much, Chris. We appreciate you making that comment. You're the best, buddy. All right. Well, we're getting to that time. We got 1 minute, and then we'd be 1 hour. I like to do these things 1 hour because it works better for me when it comes down to it. There's 10 people on here at this point in time, which we truly, truly appreciate. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I hope you get out to the range. Hope you get out to the range and hope you get to shoot a little bit more. I hope you take a friend or a family member. As we get further and further along, we need to enter more and more people into the shooting sports due to the fact that they're being taught or they're being told stuff from the internet that may not be 100% true. And if you have a friend or a family member you'd like to take and educate a little bit more, get them up to my website. Get them up to my YouTube channel. Let them watch some of those videos. Get the grips down, get the stance done, get them confident with a pistol. Because obviously, if there's a weapon in the home, everybody in the home should know how to use it, understand it, and know how to operate it. That's one of my pet things here. Husband comes in or wife comes in and buys a gun, and maybe the husband or wife aren't shooters, and they don't care that the husband has a weapon in the home. They just don't want to do anything with it because they're afraid of it or unsure of it or whatever. And I always recommend if this weapon's going to be in your home, you must know how to load it and unload it and be able to protect yourself with it. Because God forbid that you need to use that weapon in a line of defense, you want to make sure that you have some idea how to load it and unload it. For women, I don't have to teach you Mama Bear. I don't have to teach you situational awareness. I just got to get you to operate the tool. And that's all it is a tool. It doesn't do anything without you. People look at firearms as deadly weapons. Are they really deadly weapons? Are they just something that needs to be operated by a mechanic? And that's what you become. Craftsman. You are a craftsman of the product. If you're uncomfortable with a firearm, that takes only a few little things to do. Either take instructions or spend more time uh, doing it to get more and more comfortable. Watch some of the videos that we have or anybody else on YouTube will help you support you and get you to the next level. Get yourself a good instructor if you can't get to us, and then spend some time behind that gun that you can spend and become more and more and more proficient. And the more proficient you are, less anticipation you have, less better control you have, and the easier it's going to become. Remember, a firearm in your home, the firearm, the shooting, and everything is a job for you now. You can't just think of it. A lady a couple weeks ago wanted to come to the store. She wanted to buy a gun for protection purposes, but she don't plan to shoot it. She don't plan to use it. She don't plan. That's like, really? I mean, be honest with you, if you don't plan to shoot it, you don't plan to do anything with it, you might as well buy pepper spray. You might as well do something else. Because I don't feel very comfortable selling you a firearm that you're going to take home and put in your closet. You can hurt yourself. You can do it. Like, listen, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, lady came in. She looked flustered. She went to class at 11. She showed up at 11:15. She goes, I got to be honest with you. I said, what's that, ma'am? She says, well, I shot my bed this morning. I said, what? She shot her bed this morning. I said, well, how did that happen? Well, I was trying to operate the pistol before I came here. I wouldn't look like an idiot. And obviously, I look like an idiot now by telling you this. I go, no, you're not an idiot. You just learned a big learning curve right there, right? Luckily, you shot your bed and your bed only, right? Because it could have been somebody in the bed. It could have been them. That gun will not fire unless you put your finger on the trigger. And she goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. She just, yeah, that's all she kept saying. Yeah. What we did is we went in the back, we went through the fundamentals. I tried to figure out what she did, and I kind of have an idea. She actually took the she racked the slide, is what I'm getting at. She racked the slide, and then she took the magazine out. And at that point in time, she had a loaded gun in her hand, and she went to rack it again, but she engaged the trigger while she was racking it, and it blew a hole in the mattress, which I'm sure that was a shock to her. So be careful out there, guys. Remember, the gun is just a tool that needs to be operated. Number one handgun rule of all handgun rules is treat the weapon if it's always loaded. If the weapon is always loaded, where's your finger not going to be? On the trigger. What are you not going to point it at? Anything you love and don't want to destroy. And always keep the weapon pointed down range. Right? Remember, a loaded pistol needs to be unloaded. And the easiest way to remember how to unload it is with the acronym DROP. DROP. You drop the magazine, you rack the slide, you open the slide, and you physically check the weapon. DROP will save your life for someone you love. Until next time, guys, God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line of defense. We'll see you next Tuesday. If you have any comments or anything else like that, you can always comment through our YouTube channel. We would love to have you guys come back next week. check out that new sponsor. I guarantee you're going to love it. It's going to be something that you're going to need and economically inexpensive to protect your family from the internet and the scam artists that are out there. End screen's coming up. God bless, guys. Love you.